Chemical engineering, 32,700. That is the current number of chemical engineers in the US, and hopefully one day I can be one too. The intro. Chemical engineers work on many different things and improve many different walks of life. They are bold investors improving life behind the scenes. They are not. They are thankless heroes because they work on things from big to small, from the mundane to extraordinary. A lot of people, when they hear the word chemicals, they think bombs and corrosive acid, but really, chemistry and chemical engineering is a lot more than that. I want to work on the stigmatism of that chemicals are bad and chemicals are dangerous. Chemicals are not dangerous. You are made of chemicals. Your body is made of chemicals. The air you breathe is a chemical. Everything around you is a chemical. Cooking, cleaning, everything. So I want to break that stigmatism that yes, we can. The chemical engineers can build bombs. That doesn't mean they're going to. It just means that they are in a different position than say a chef. I mean, it's just bad for that stigmatism. And I do believe that in the future the need for chemical engineers will grow because of the advancements and the technology we're coming out with. One of these that I'm personally excited about is 3D printing food. You get cartridges of nutrients, and it's like a 3D printer. You get these cartridges of proteins, and what happens is like a 3D printer and the plastic, it 3D prints food, whatever texture, and it can add in vitamins. And of course, chemical engineers would be on the forefront of that. Moving on to the overview. Uh, Wherever a chemical engineer works will be fundamentally the same. Even though there are different branches for a chemical engineer to go, like pharmaceuticals, I could work at a Coke company, batteries, many different things. Fundamentally, at the core, it's going to stay the same, and that is of working to improve the chemical processes that are being dealt with, and to make sure that it's safe and make sure that it's efficient. And in other words, they're working for society. Um, they're the like I said before, they're the heroes behind the scenes, and this field is rapidly expanding, like as fast as science as a whole. Um, and because of that, some people may even choose to freelance and make their own company out of it. And freelancing, like uh, it's like an outside company that can be hired to work for different companies at a time, if someone does not want to be tied down by a single company. Why do we need chemical engineering? Well, it's a valid question because everyone asks why their job is needed, why janitors exist, why teachers exist, why bankers exist, uh, why. It's a very uh, good question, and the reason for chemical engineers is because they are a pillar for for the scientific society. Uh, they improve behind the scenes lots of things, like in pharmaceuticals. They can improve shelf life of medicines and pills that are more compact, uh, cosmetics that don't break out your skin, or batteries that don't leak. All of those things, chemical engineers have played a role in. And not a lot of people think about it. But if you dive into this, you'll start to see just how many things that they play a role in. Challenges with chemical engineering. Everything in life has a challenge, and that is no exception for chemical engineering. It is ever expanding, and because of that, it's at the forefront of science, which is great. For me, I love science, and I would love to be at the forefront, but that also means I have to be very fluid, because not that many years ago we thought the Earth was flat. Well, we were wrong. And I mean, not too many years from now, we're going to have androids and uh, amazing technological advancements, and we have to be ready for that, especially if you're going into the scientific field. It is a completely different ballgame. And as a scientist, I may want to publish a paper, and I would want it to be peer reviewed and criticized by my colleagues in the scientific community. I would want that. But the situation is falling out of style. Like, I mean, it sounds weird, but really, it moves at the speed of light. Um, so you have to stay in style, and because it's moving so fast and you have to be so fluid, you just fall out of it, and your papers can't get that grasp that they would before, especially with chemical engineering. Now, I know I've glossed over saying this, that, and the other about what chemical engineers do, but this slide is talking about specifically what they do in very specific terms. In simple terms, they watch over chemical processes and make sure they're safe and efficient. But if you dive deeper, they are the link between chemistry, society, and industry. And they also represent the application of science in our everyday lives. Like, for example, when you're cooking and a recipe requires baking soda, and if you went back in times when baking soda was first introduced, it would be less efficient than the baking soda we have today. It wouldn't have worked as well. So that was because of chemical engineers. It may be, you could say, oh, it was from chefs, but really what they were doing is the same jobs that chemical engineers do today. They're improving, they're making sure it's better than it was before. And that's really what they do. They also do this on much larger scales, like working for a power plant. They make sure that the energy is more efficient, that the uranium lasts longer, or plutonium, or whatever fuel you're using. You could even talk about this with biofuel, making it last longer, making less waste. It is infinite what science can do, and it is one of the best. It is just the best to think about. Finally, my conclusion. Chemical engineering is very important to industry and how modern life has developed today. Without science, without chemistry, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't have the things, we wouldn't have the computers, we would not have anything we do today. And thanks to being fluid, it can just reach out to so many different places. And because of the fluidity and how modern life has developed, we have efficiency. Like, we can produce so much stuff in a so little amount of time. It is baffling. And if people think of efficiency, people think of speed, but it's not just speed, but the amount of resources that we use. Like trees, we only have a limited amount of trees. So chemical engineers were like, I'm going to fix this. We are going to make sure that we use less lumber for every piece of paper that we make. And finally, I believe the way that humanity in the US is moving, more chemical engineers are going to be needed. Because, like I said before, we're going to improve technology, so we're going to need to improve those processes to be further along so we can make better stuff and so we can have less waste on the environment. Like, I would I would love to be one of the chemical engineers that works on biodegradable plastic. Because right now, the way it's going, biodegradable plastic is too expensive to replace plastic that we make today. But chemical engineers could be the key behind unraveling that one little process that could bust it open, and we would no longer have to worry about plastic in the ocean. And finally, my sources. So thank you for watching my video.